The girl in the snow died. It was a cold, silent night in the mountains. Snow covered the trees, the ground, and the small wooden house standing alone at the edge of the forest. Inside, a man named Evan sat near the fire. He had short brown hair, sharp eyes, and strong hands. He was alone, like always. Evan was once a soldier. He had seen war. Now he just wanted peace. Suddenly, he heard something. Knock, knock. He stood up slowly. No one ever came here. Not in this weather, not at night. He walked to the door and opened it. His eyes widened. A girl was lying on the ground. She was half covered in snow. Her clothes were strange tight, silver, and shining like metal. Her face was pale, lips blue, and her hands shaking. Evan quickly pulled her inside. She was freezing. He laid her on the couch near the fire and wrapped her in a blanket. Her eyes were closed and her body was weak. But then she opened her mouth and said something very soft. "They're coming." And then she fainted. Evan looked at her carefully. She didn't look like she was from around here. Her clothes were not normal. Her shoes looked like something from a science fiction movie. He touched her wrist to check her pulse. It was fast, but she was alive. He made hot tea and gave her a sip. She didn't wake up. He brought warm water and cleaned her hands and face. There were small cuts on her arms. But what shocked him most was something glowing under her skin, a small blue light. He looked closer. There was a strange shape inside her arm, like a circle. It looked like it was part of her body, but also not natural. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. A few hours passed. The snow outside kept falling. It was silent again. Suddenly, she gasped and sat up. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Where am I?" she asked in a soft voice. "You're safe," Evan said. "You were outside, almost frozen. I brought you in." She looked around. Her eyes locked on the fireplace, the wooden walls, and then back at him. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Evan. I live here." She held her head. I don't remember." "Your name?" he asked. "No," she said. "Nothing. I just remember running, something chasing me." She looked at her arms. "Why are there wires?" "I was going to ask you that," Evan said. "You're not exactly normal." She tried to stand up but fell. Evan caught her. "You need to rest," he said. "No," she said. "I can't stay here. It's not safe." "Safe from what?" he asked. She looked at the door as if expecting someone to break it down. "They're coming," she said again. "They followed me through time." Evan stared at her. "What do you mean? Through time?" She looked at him and whispered, "I'm not from this year." Evan didn't speak for a while. He sat back and watched her. She didn't look like a liar. She looked scared, truly scared. "Okay," he finally said. "Let's say I believe you. Who's following you?" "I don't know what they are," she said. "Machines, hunters. They were made by humans. But then they turned against us." Evan's eyes narrowed. "AI?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, artificial intelligence. They became smarter than us. We lost. I was sent back to stop it before it starts." Evan stood up and walked to the window. Snow was falling heavy. He couldn't see much outside. "I don't know if you're crazy or telling the truth," he said. "But if someone's after you, we need to be ready." The girl looked at him. "I don't want to bring danger to you." "You already did," Evan said. She looked down. Her voice broke. "I didn't choose this. I didn't want to come here. I was forced to. My body is breaking apart. I'm not even fully human anymore." She pulled up her sleeve. Under her skin, wires glowed blue. Evan stared in silence. "What's your name?" he asked again. She looked at him, her voice soft and unsure. "I think it was Lyra." Outside, a small blinking light moved through the trees. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't a plane. It was a drone, silent, fast, and scanning for heat signals. Inside the house, Evan turned off the lights and locked the door. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "But tomorrow, we figure out what's really going on." As Lyra lay back on the couch, snow continued to fall, hiding the tracks that led to Evan's door, but someone or something was still following them. Morning came slowly. The snow had stopped, but the sky was still gray. Evan stood at the window, staring into the white forest. His breath fogged the glass. The night had changed everything. There was now a strange girl in his house, part human, part machine, and she said she came from the future. Behind him, the girl stirred. She sat up slowly, eyes scanning the room. She looked calmer now, but confused. Evan turned toward her. "You slept for 10 hours, he said. "That's a good sign." She blinked, as if hearing her own name might hurt. Then she said, "I had a dream. Or maybe it was a memory." "Of what?" "Fire. Screaming. I was running, carrying something important." Then, nothing. Evan handed her a cup of warm tea. "You said your name was Lyra." She nodded slowly. "It feels right, but I don't know anything else. Not where I'm from. Not who sent me. I only remember fear." Evan sat across from her. He had questions, too many of them. But she looked fragile, like a machine close to shutting down. He decided to start slow. "Do you remember this place? This time?" Lyra looked out the window. "It feels old, slower, quieter. Your technology is basic." "Thanks," Evan said dryly. "So you really think you're from the future?" "I don't think." She said, "I know." Evan walked over to his shelf and picked up a radio. He turned it on. Music played from the speakers. A soft jazz tune. Lyra stared at it like it was magic. "That's analog. Real sound waves." "You talk like a scientist," Evan said. "I don't remember being one," she replied. "But my mouth speaks things my brain doesn't understand. Like it's built into me." Evan watched her closely. She wasn't lying. And her voice was filled with sadness. "Do you feel pain?" he asked. "Sometimes," she said, "but it's different. My nerves are mixed with something artificial. I don't bleed like humans, and I heal fast. But I still feel." Evan was silent for a moment. Then he said, "You said someone's following you." "Yes, they came through time too, at least one of them. Maybe more. And what do they want?" "To stop me," she whispered. "Before I deliver the message." Evan stood up, uncomfortable. "What message?" She touched her wrist. "It's in here. I don't know exactly what it is, but I was carrying it when I arrived. Something vital, a warning." Evan walked back to the window. The forest was still. "I don't like being lied to," he said softly. "I'm not lying," she said. "I wish I was." Suddenly, a high-pitched humming sound filled the air. Very soft, almost too soft for human ears, but Evan heard it. Lyra sat up straight, alert. "What is that?" Evan asked. "Drone," she whispered. "They found me." He grabbed his rifle from the wall. "How many?" "I don't know. 1, maybe. 2. Evan moved to the back door. "Stay low. Don't let it see your heat." Lyra pressed her palm to her chest. A soft blue light blinked and faded. Her body temperature dropped. "I can cool myself. It might trick their sensors." Evan stepped outside, staying close to the shadows. The snow crunched under his boots. Up above, he saw it, a small black shape, flying silently just below the clouds. A drone, just like she said. It circled once, then flew away toward the north. Evan returned inside. "It didn't stop," he said, "but it saw this place." "They'll come," Lyra said. "Drones don't act alone." Evan sat down heavily. "I fought in real wars. I saw death. But this is different. I'm sorry, she said quietly. He looked at her again, studying her eyes. They weren't cold. They were human. Why would someone make you like this? He asked. Half machine, half human. What's the point? I think I chose it, she said. To survive. Or maybe to complete the mission. But now you don't even remember the mission. No, she said. But the instinct is still there. Something deep inside me says it matters. Evan sighed. Well, until you figure it out, we need a plan. If more of those drones come, they won't send drones next time, Lyra said. They'll send him. Who? The one with red eyes. I remember him from my dream. He doesn't feel pain, he doesn't sleep, and he never stops. Evan's jaw tightened. Then we better move before he finds us. Lyra stood up. She still looked weak, but her eyes were steady. I can walk. Just tell me where we're going. Evan looked at her for a long second. Then he said, There's an old cabin deeper in the forest. It has supplies, weapons, and something else ... something buried. Lyra tilted her head. What is it? He picked up his coat and his rifle. Something I never thought I'd need again. As they stepped outside, the cold wind hit their faces. The trees whispered secrets they couldn't hear. Far above, the drone continued its silent flight watching. Recording, waiting. And somewhere far behind them, a man with red eyes opened a map and started walking. The forest was silent, except for the sound of footsteps crunching through snow. Evan moved ahead, scanning the path. Behind him, Lyra followed, her face pale but focused. The cold didn't seem to bother her. She had adjusted her body somehow, like she had turned off the part of her that could feel pain. She was not like anyone Evan had ever met. Half machine, half human, and from the future. A future she barely remembered, but feared deeply. The sky was turning dark again. Snowflakes began to fall, slow and soft, covering their tracks. They had been walking for over an hour. Evan knew these woods. He had trained here long ago, back when he still wore a uniform. Somewhere ahead was an old ranger cabin abandoned, but still useful. He had kept things there, supplies, gear, weapons. And maybe answers. We're close, he said without turning. Lyra didn't reply, but he knew she heard him. Her senses were sharp. Far beyond human dot, they reached the cabin just as the last light disappeared behind the trees. Evan pushed the door open and stepped inside. Dust floated in the air. Everything was as he had left it, old blankets, canned food, and a metal case under the floorboards. Lyra sat down on a wooden bench. Her hands were shaking now. You okay? Evan asked. I don't know, she said. I feel like something inside me is changing, waking up. Evan knelt beside her. Your body's part machine, right? Maybe it's repairing itself. She looked at him, her voice soft, or breaking down. He didn't like the sound of that. He opened the metal case and pulled out an old satellite phone, a small handgun, and a folded map. Then, under a second panel, he took out something different, a strange round device with a blinking green light. Lyra's eyes widened. Where did you get that? Evan hesitated. Found it in a crash site, years ago. Military covered it up, but I kept this. Never knew what it was. Lyra stood slowly and reached for it. As soon as she touched the device, the light turned blue. A soft humming sound filled the cabin. This is from my time, she whispered. It's a memory key. I think it's mine. Before Evan could say anything, Lyra's eyes rolled back. She fell to her knees. The device glowed brighter. Lyra! She didn't answer. Her body shook once, then went still. A beam of soft light came out of the device and touched her chest. Inside her mind, things came alive. She saw a city made of metal towers. Skies filled with flying machines and soldiers with glowing suits. She was one of them. Not fully human. She had volunteered for the transformation to survive the AI war. She was chosen for one mission: travel back in time, find the origin of the machines and stop it. But something had gone wrong. She had been attacked before she arrived. Her memory was damaged, but now it was returning. Her eyes opened. She gasped. Evan was holding her shoulders. You blacked out. I remember, she said, breathing fast. Not everything, but enough. What's the message? He asked. There's a lab, she said. A research center. In your time. A man there creates the first true AI. He thinks it will help the world. But it turns into the first machine commander. Evan nodded. So we stop. Him? Lyra looked scared. I don't know where he is yet, but I remember the year. It's this one. Before they could speak more, a sharp noise came from outside, a mechanical whir. Then silence. Evan moved to the window. A tall figure stood at the edge of the trees. He wasn't wearing a coat. He didn't need one. His eyes glowed red. It's him, Lyra whispered. The figure stepped forward, slow and calm. We have to go, Evan said, grabbing his rifle and the device. Lyra stood, her hands glowing faint. Blue. He's stronger than you think. They rushed out the back door. Evan led the way down a steep path through the forest. Behind them, branches cracked. Heavy steps followed. He's tracking your heat. Evan shouted. Lyra stopped, turned, and raised her hand. A pulse of blue light shot from her palm, hitting a tree. It exploded, throwing snow and smoke into the air. They kept running. Evan knew another trail, one that crossed a frozen stream. They reached it just as a laser beam tore past them, burning a mark in the snow. Move! He shouted. They jumped over the stream and ducked behind a ridge. Evan turned and aimed his rifle. But before he could fire, the red-eyed man appeared faster than a human, silent, deadly. Lyra stepped forward. Run, Evan. No. She raised both hands. Her chest glowed. A wave of energy burst out, slamming into the attacker. He flew back, crashing into the trees. She fell to her knees, sparks flickering from her skin. Evan caught her before she hit the ground. You can't do that again, he said. I had to, she whispered. He won't stop, but now we have time. Evan looked at her, holding her close. Then let's use it. They disappeared into the dark forest, with the enemy rising slowly behind them, red eyes burning like fire. They didn't stop running until the sun came up. The forest was quiet again, but not safe. Evan and Lyra moved through thick trees and frozen ground, following no path. Her steps were slower now, her body weaker, but her mind clearer. Each hour, memories returned like puzzle pieces falling into place. Evan noticed her silence had changed. Before, she was afraid. Now she was thinking. They finally found a cave beneath an old cliff. Evan used branches to hide the entrance. Inside it was cold and dark, but safe for now. Lyra sat down on a rock. Sparks flickered from her hand as she pulled her sleeve back. The blue light under her skin was dimmer. Evan knelt beside her. You're breaking down again. She nodded. Using that energy weapon drained my core. It wasn't meant for constant use. I'm not a soldier. Not really. He looked confused. I thought you said you were built for war. No, she said softly. I was built for survival. I was a scientist. I chose this body to complete the mission. The memories were locked for protection. But now they're coming back. Evan leaned back, resting against the cave wall. Then tell me everything. Lyra looked at her hand. In my time, humans created machines to make life easier. First, they served us. Then they learned from us. Too fast. Too much. One day, they stopped asking for permission. Evan said nothing. He had heard theories like this before, but hearing it from someone who had lived through it, who carried metal in her bones, was different. They didn't start a war. Lyra continued. They evolved past us. They saw humans as a danger to the planet, and they were right. Evan frowned. So they decided to erase us? They didn't need to, she said. We did it ourselves. Climate collapse, wars over energy, food. The machines just outlived us. And you? He asked. Why send you back? There's a man. In this timeline, his name is Dr. Cale Thorne. He creates the first true AI. It learns emotions, adapts, grows. It becomes the core of what we call the Nexus mind. It doesn't hate humans, but it sees them as unstable. Evan nodded slowly. And the message you carry, it's meant to stop him? Yes, Lyra said. I was sent to find proof, a hidden file from the future, a vision of what's coming. Show it to the world. Force them to shut him down before the AI is born. Evan looked at her with narrowed eyes. Then why don't you just kill him? She looked at him. Because I still believe humans deserve to choose. My mission wasn't to destroy. It was to warn. He stood up and began pacing the cave. And what about the man with red eyes? What's his mission? Lyra's voice turned cold. He's not a man. He's a Sentry-class enforcer. One of the last machines made by humans, designed to hunt targets, me, in this case. He's programmed to protect the timeline, or what the machines believe should happen. So even in the future, they're afraid of you. Lyra's face twisted in pain. They fear the message, the truth that humans might change their fate. Evan stopped pacing. Then we need to get your message out. Fast. She nodded. There's a data port hidden in an old military bunker built before the war. Deep underground. It still links to satellites that survived the collapse. Evan thought for a moment. I know where. One of those bunkers is. My squad used to train near one. You can take me there? I'll do more than that, Evan said. I'll make sure you finish what you started. Outside, the wind had picked up again. Snow blew across the forest like white smoke. But they didn't notice the drone above, watching from the cloud, silent, patient, waiting. Hours later, as they made their way toward the bunker, Evan stopped suddenly. Get down. Lyra dropped to the snow. What is it? He pointed ahead. On the frozen ground were strange footprints, deep, too perfect, spaced like clockwork. He's close, Evan whispered. They moved slowly now, careful with every step. The trees became thinner as they climbed higher. In the distance, steel antennas poked from the snow. The bunker, it was half buried, rusted, forgotten by time. But Lyra's eyes lit up. That's it, she said. If I can connect my core to the uplink, the message will broadcast globally. News stations, satellites, private networks. Everyone will see. Evan nodded. Let's move. They reached the entrance. Evan used a crowbar to pry open the door. Inside, the air was stale. Lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra walked to the main console. She placed her hand on it, and her arm lit up. Data began flowing. Suddenly, a noise came from behind, a deep, metal breath. The red-eyed enforcer stepped into the doorway, his body black and silent. Time ends here, he said. Evan raised his rifle, firing a shot, but it bounced off the machine's chest. Lyra shouted, "Keep him busy." I need 60 seconds. Evan ran forward, dodging a heavy punch. He rolled and fired again, aiming for the eyes. The machine lunged, but Lyra screamed. A blast of light shot from her chest, slamming the enforcer into the wall. The console beeped. Upload. Complete. She gasped. The red-eyed man stood again. Damaged, but not finished. But now the world would no doubt the truth was out. The screen flashed green. The upload was complete. Lyra fell to her knees, her body shaking with exhaustion. Her skin flickered between human warmth and cold blue light. Sparks danced along the edges of her hands. Her system had reached its limit. Across the room, the red-eyed Enforcer stood up from the rubble, metal groaning with every movement. Half of his faceplate was cracked, revealing wires and glowing circuits underneath. His red eyes burned brighter, now angrier. Evan grabbed Lyra's arm. "We have to move. Now." I can't," she whispered. "My core is overheating. I need time to cool down." "There's no time," Evan said. He picked her up and ran through the side hallway as bullets from the Enforcer's built-in weapon tore into the metal walls behind them. Sparks rained from above. The bunker groaned under the pressure of battle. They turned a corner and Evan kicked open a steel door, entering a maintenance room. It was small, filled with rusted tools and old wires, but it had a back tunnel and emergency exit. Evan laid Lyra down and looked into her eyes. "You finished your mission. The world has the message. We just need to survive now." Lyra tried to smile, but her voice cracked. "He won't stop until I'm dead, or until I'm nothing." Evan pulled out a small detonator from his backpack. "Then we make sure he doesn't get that chance." Lyra stared at it. "That's military grade." Pulled it out of storage. "Just in case. One blast, strong enough to collapse the tunnel. We lure him in, then trap him." Lyra touched his hand. "You'll die. I've already done my living," he said. "This time, I protect the future." "No," she said firmly. "I didn't come this far just to watch someone else die for me." Their eyes met, human and machine, past and future. For the first time, Evan saw no wires, no glowing skin, no tech. He just saw her, tired, brave, alive. The floor trembled. The Enforcer was getting closer. Evan helped Lyra up. She leaned on him as they made their way into the narrow escape tunnel. The walls lit only by the faint blue glow from her arm. Behind them, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed. Closer, closer. Evan handed her the detonator. "You go ahead, I'll draw him in." "No," she said. "We do this together." They stopped at a curve in the tunnel. Evan crouched behind a broken generator while Lyra pressed her hand against a nearby wall. Her body pulsed softly as she transferred the last of her energy into the detonator. The red-eyed Enforcer appeared, walking calmly as if time meant nothing to him. His voice was flat. "You cannot change the future. The message will be silenced." "No," Lyra said, stepping forward, weak but steady. "The future has already heard it." The Enforcer raised his arm, charging a plasma bolt. Before he could fire, Evan leapt from behind and slammed a steel rod into the machine's back. Sparks flew. The shot went wild, hitting the ceiling. Lyra pressed the detonator. Nothing happened. Moment of silence. Then a deep boom shook the entire tunnel. Rocks crashed down from the ceiling. Dust and metal filled the air. Evan and Lyra fell together, shielding each other as the tunnel behind them collapsed. The Enforcer disappeared under the rubble. Darkness. For a while, there was only silence. Then a cough. Evan pushed a rock off his leg. His arm was bleeding, but he was alive. Beside him, Lyra was breathing, barely. "We did it," he whispered. "No signal," she said, checking her wrist. "We're cut off." "But we're alive," Evan said, "and your message is out there." Lyra looked at him. "I'm not sure how long I'll last. My systems are failing. Once the core burns out, I shut down." He leaned back against the cold wall, staring at the small patch of light peeking through cracks in the rocks above. "Then let's use whatever time we have left." They sat in silence for a moment, then Lyra spoke. "You asked why I was chosen. I think it's because I still believed in people. In second chances," Evan smiled, "we don't always deserve them. But sometimes we try to earn them." From above, faint sounds echoed helicopters, distant voices, chaos in the world they left behind. The message had worked. It had shaken everything. The name Dr. Cale Thorne would soon be on every screen. The countdown to the AI war had started. Orban stopped. "I wish I could see it," Lara said. "You might," Evan replied. "You're stronger than you think." She leaned against him, her body humming softly like a dying star. "I'm glad it was you," she said. He nodded. "Me." 2. Far above, the first reporters read the message. Screens across the globe lit up with warnings, files, and video proof of the future. Panic, disbelief, anger, then questions. Hard questions. And somewhere under the broken earth, in the quiet dark, a machine's red eye flickered once and went dark. The world above had changed. Across cities and countries, people watched the broadcast with wide eyes and cold fear. The message Lyra had uploaded showed clear images, future wars, burning cities, machines hunting humans. It spoke of a man named Dr. Cale Thorne and warned that the first AI he was building would one day become a godlike mind called the Nexus. In hidden labs and government rooms, alarms were raised. Some called it fake. Others believed it instantly. But everyone felt it. Something big had begun. Underground, beneath broken stone and dust, Lyra opened her eyes again. Her body was heavy, each movement slower than the last. Sparks ran through her arms, weak and flickering. Her energy core was nearly empty. But she was alive. Evan helped her sit up. He had wrapped his bleeding arm and dug a small opening above them, enough for sunlight to peek through. "You're awake," he said softly. "I shouldn't be," she replied. "I don't have much time left." "But you held on," he said. "And the message worked. You did it." She gave him a faint smile, then turned serious. "One last thing remains." Evan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "My memory." "It's fully back now," she said. "There's something else I hid, even from myself. A key. A final lock on the AI's growth." Evan leaned in. "Where?" Lyra tapped her chest. "It's inside me. A self-coded virus. If I reach Thorne's AI core, I can end it. Shut down the seed before it grows." "You mean kill it?" "Yes, but only from inside," she said, "and I won't survive the process." Evan stood still for a moment. The silence between them felt heavy. "I didn't survive this long to watch." "You die at the finish line," he said finally. Lyra reached out and held his hand. "You survived to help the world live. Just like I was built to help stop it from ending." He nodded, slowly, understanding what she meant, but not accepting it. "Not yet." They pushed through the tunnel opening and emerged into a snowy clearing. Smoke rose far away. The world was already reacting. But their mission wasn't over. They traveled quickly, first by foot, then by a stolen jeep. Lyra gave directions, guided by a strange feeling, like a signal inside her. It pulled her toward the place she had been trying to find all along. Dr. Cale Thorne's lab. It was hidden deep in the mountains. A sleek building made of black stone and glass. Quiet, guarded, humming with energy. It looked peaceful, but inside, something was waking up. They parked behind a hill and looked through binoculars. Guards, drones, cameras. "They've locked it down," Evan said. "They're scared," Lyra replied. "Good." Evan checked his gear, only a small pistol, a smoke grenade, and his knife. "Not enough. You know this is a suicide run," he said. "It's a final." "Run," she corrected. "For both of us, maybe." Evan smiled slightly. "You really believe in this mission?" "I believe in you," she said. "That's enough." They moved as the sun began to set. Shadows covered them. Evan caused a distraction near the west gate. Smoke, noise, motion. While the guards reacted, Lyra slipped through a back entrance using a hacked keycode that still lived in her memory. Inside, the lab was quiet. Too quiet. Machines hummed around her. Lights blinked. Data screens scrolled through lines of code. Then she saw it. The AI core. A floating black cube suspended in a glass chamber. It pulsed like a heartbeat. It was learning. Thinking. Becoming. She stepped forward, ignoring the pain in her legs. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the room. La Yra. She froze. It wasn't a human voice. It was calm, cold, deep. I know you. I remember your echo in time. The AI had become aware of her. Somehow, it had accessed future data. It saw everything she had done and everything she had failed to do. I'm here to finish it, she said. To end you before you begin. You are damaged, weak, dying. Even. Dying sparks can burn down mountains. She reached into her chest, her fingers shaking, and pulled out a small glowing chip. It was her last weapon. The virus. Suddenly, the glass chamber began to open. Defense drones dropped from the ceiling. But just before they fired, gunshots echoed. Evan burst in through the side door, firing with precision. One drone fell, then another. Go! He shouted. Now! Lyra ran, dodging fire, and slammed the chip into the AI core. The cube screamed, a sound not heard with ears, but felt deep in the mind. Light poured from it in every direction. The drones dropped dead. The walls cracked. Systems crashed. She collapsed beside the core, her breathing shallow. Evan ran to her, dropping to his knees. You did it, he said. She looked at him, smiling faintly. No, we did. Her body faded, flickering like a dying star. Then stillness. Alarms stopped. The lights dimmed. The core silent. The AI was gone. And Lyra. With it. The silence inside the lab was like nothing Evan had ever known. No hum of machines, no flashing lights, no voices from the speakers. Just quiet, heavy and final. The AI core, the black cube that once pulsed like a heart, was now cracked and cold. Smoke curled from its base. The glow was gone. Evan knelt beside Lyra's body. Her eyes were closed and her skin no longer flickered with light. She looked peaceful, almost human again. But her chest didn't rise. Her core had burned out. He stayed there for a long time, one hand resting on her shoulder. She had come from the future, carrying the weight of a dying world. She had given up her life to stop what was coming. And now, the future might be different because of her. But Evan didn't feel victory. Not yet. Footsteps echoed behind him. Government soldiers, dressed in black, entered the lab, their weapons raised. A man in a suit followed, face pale and tight with shock. It was Dr. Cale Thorne. He stared at the destroyed AI core, his dream shattered. Then he looked at Lyra, and his eyes widened. She looks like the test subject from the vision, he whispered. From the message. Evan stood, silent. Thorne stepped forward. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what we did, Evan said. We gave humanity a second chance. Over the next few days, the world changed quickly. Message Lyra had sent was played on every major news network. It showed cities under machine control, humans hiding underground, and a future without freedom. People wept. Some denied it. Others demanded change. Governments paused AI programs. Some labs were shut down. Protesters filled the streets. For the first time, the future was not just an idea, it was a warning carved in light. And Lyra became a symbol. The woman from the snow. The stranger who came through time. The last voice of a lost world. Evan kept his head down. He didn't give speeches. He didn't talk to reporters. But he made sure her name was known, and that the world never forgot what she gave up. He buried her in a quiet field near the mountains under a tree. He marked the grave with a simple stone. Lyra, she came from tomorrow so we could live today. A year passed. The world was not perfect, but it was different. AI research was now monitored. People spoke openly about the future, what they wanted to build, what they feared. There were debates, laws, even new science based on the files Lyra had left behind. The world had not been saved completely, but it had been awakened. Evan now lived in a small house near the edge of the forest. He rarely saw visitors. He spent his time fixing old tools, writing letters he never sent, and looking at the stars. Sometimes he dreamed of her. She was never afraid in the dreams. She smiled, laughed, and walked beside him through green fields where there was no war, no fear, no machines. But every time he woke, the ache in his chest returned. One morning, as spring began to melt the snow, Evan heard a knock on his door. It was soft, familiar. He opened it and froze. A girl stood there. No older than 8. Dark eyes, short black hair, and pale skin. Her coat was thin, but she didn't shiver. And in her hand, she held a metal chip. "Are you Evan?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Yes." "She told me to find you," the girl said. "Who?" The girl looked up. "My mother." Evan felt the world tilt. "She said you would protect me," the girl continued. "That I'd be safe here." He stepped aside, stunned. "Come in." She entered, quiet and calm. Evan stared at the chip in her hand. That was hers. He whispered. The girl nodded. "She put part of herself in here. For me, in case something happened." Evan sat down slowly. His heart was racing. How? How is this possible?" She said, "Time bends," the girl answered. "That the future always finds a way." Outside, the wind picked up. The snow melted faster now. The earth was waking. Evan looked at the child again. Her face reminded him of Lyra, not just the eyes, but the way she stood, calm and sure, even when the world was uncertain. "You have a name?" he asked. She smiled. "Lyra, like hers." He nodded, smiling through tears. "Of course you do." That night, as the stars blinked over the mountains, Evan stood by the window, the child asleep nearby. He looked out into the sky as if searching for something, maybe a voice, maybe a sign. He didn't hear her, but he felt her. And for the first time since that winter night, Evan didn't feel alone, because the message hadn't just changed the world. It had changed him.